All righty, all right. So, I just want to give everybody who's currently here a nice, warm, cozy welcome. Um, my name is Momo, and I'm a part of Avatar Origins. And if you don't know who Avatar Origins are, we are basically a fan led podcast chat group. We basically are big fans of the show, Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, and basically the entire Avatar universe. And we're here with the amazing Judy Lin, who's given us the very first look into the new novel centering around Jin from the Tales of Ba Sing Se, if you remember her small and short relationship with Zuko. I've got my co-hosts here, a tall earthbender and Rico. Um, and yeah, Judy, would love for you to take a moment to introduce yourself and let's hear more about you.
Everyone. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here to talk a little bit more about the Jin book, City of Echoes. So it kicks off the new series from Avatar Studios that's not focused on the Avatar. So you will get to see a little bit of stories in the Avatar universe. So I was very excited to be able to write it. And my background is I am a young adult fantasy and horror author. So I mostly write stories that are based on Taiwanese mythology because I'm actually from Taiwan. And so I wrote a duology about tea magic, which is, you can see back there, Magic Steeped in Poison, The Venom Dark and Sweet. And I also have, yeah, a horror story, The Dark Becomes Her, that is set in Vancouver's Chinatown. So that's kind of what my background. So you'll see a little bit of fantasy and a little bit of horror influence in City of Echoes. So I
Ooh.
am excited to share more of that.
Oh, Momo, your mic?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we only have you here for a limited amount of time. So I want to go ahead and get started with some of these questions. Just for context, we got a lot of questions that were submitted over to us by fans. And then we also kind of threw in a few of our own questions as well. And then if there's any time left over, we can maybe field some questions from the audience. So yeah, let's get started. A tall earthbender, Rico, do you guys want to say anything before we start shooting off the questions?
Just that we're stoked. And when you responded to the email to accept this podcast interview, I'm not going to tell you how I responded. Let's just say I was overly excited. Um, I was a little loud, so people came into the room like, "Is everything okay?" I said, "Yes, everything is fine," because I was really excited, Judy, that you agreed to do this. And to all the Avatar fans in the Avatar universe, I just want to say that this this podcast brought to you by Avatar Origins, Tales from the Fan Base, and Kim, what is it, Avatar Discord?
And Avatar Discord, yeah, this is in partnership with the
Avatar
Avatar
Discord.
Discord. Thank you.
Thank you guys as well for
Thank you again.
allowing us to host it here. But this is Judy's first interview in regards to City of Echoes, the book City of Echoes. So we're speechless. We're honored
We're honored.
to have the great Judy Lin here with us on this podcast. Now, we're going right to questions, right?
Yep,
Yes.
let's get it on.
Okay, let's do
Let's
it.
get it on.
So, Judy, how long was the process from beginning to end to complete this novel?
Think working with projects like this, it's a lot of back and forth and collaboration with Avatar Studios. So in total, the actual time of writing the story is probably about 3 or 4 months. But there is a lot of planning beforehand of like talking about what the story is going to be about, making sure that they approve the outline and some of those details and shifting of what's going to be included in the story and what's I'm not able to include. So there was also a few months before that was leading up for it. And then, of course, there's the revision process after that. But the actual writing of the story probably took, the bulk of it was over 3 to 4 months. And then, and then a couple months on either end of revising and working with the team to make sure that the story is, into the overall storyline of the universe.
Okay. Amazing. Awesome. Rico?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for being on this. Since this is since Avatar Origins Tales from the Fan Base is basically about fans also explaining how we got hooked into this universe. Briefly, how did you get hooked into the Avatar universe?
So I am actually a fan that came a little bit later. I didn't watch the show when it originally aired, but I always heard a lot about it. This is just so influential, right? And, a lot of people are. It has a lot of fans all around the world. But the funny thing is, when I wrote the sequel to my book in Venom Dark and Sweet, there is a character called the Banished Prince, and so this was back like in 2019, 2020. And then people were like, is this based on Avatar The Last Airbender? Is this based on Avatar The Last Airbender, this character? And I said, no, and then that just kind of got me into, so I should probably watch the show and see who this Banished Prince character is in the show. So then I started watching and I was like, wow, this is really fabulous. And so I was really thrilled when they reached out to me and asked me to write a story in this universe because it was I had a lot of fun watching the show and also sharing it with my daughter too because she also really enjoyed it at that time, so she was also probably more excited than I was too, but I was also really excited to be part of this.
That is amazing. So I'm going to go into my question. So it's kind of crazy that you wrote a book about a banished prince, and now you've written a book about the banished prince's first love interest, essentially. Isn't that so great? So basically, when you were writing this book, we have a question by Dr. Dishonor. How did you balance honoring Jin's brief but iconic portrayal? She only like 5 minutes of a 25-minute episode. But how did you balance honoring her brief, iconic portrayal in the original series, while also kind of creating your own character arc with her, and then like especially writing one of the few stories where the main character is not the Avatar?
So one of the restrictions that they gave me was you cannot write anything about a current or a previous Avatar. So because they already had the Chronicles of Avatar series, so that was right off the bat. But I, as a writer, I am interested in writing stories where we don't actually see a lot of them on the screen, because I actually come from a fan fiction background. That's how I got back into writing. Was I wrote a lot of fan fiction, but the the stories that I wrote was in the Dragon Age Origins universe. So I wrote a lot of Dragon Age fan fiction, but I always focused on either an original character playing in that universe or just a side character that isn't really the focus of the story, just because I really love writing in worlds that are really like rich and have a lot of lore, and just playing around with that and kind of doing my own take. So that's why when they approved me focusing on Jin's story, even though she just appears very briefly, right, in the show, but I thought there was so much going on in Ba Sing Se at that time, right? All the stuff that we used to only see a very limited part of what like the the gang was like running around doing all sorts of things, and but we don't see what's happening with just the people who are living in Boxing Day while like the coup is happening, all the revolution. So that was what I was really interested in exploring. So I'm hoping that the book will show some insights into what's happening in that. So, and I'm hoping that it expands a little bit of for people who are curious about what's happening while they're off having the avatars off having his adventures, but what's happening to the people who are actually living in this city and in this world at that time.
Okay.
That is amazing. I think a tall earthbender, it looks like you're buzzing with another question, so I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Okay. So, Judy, some time ago, not that long ago, on the Avatar Origins Tales from the Fan Base YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, we had this crazy, wild debate. It wasn't planned, but it got so crazy heated, and not heated in a bad way, but it was hysterical. And I asked Momo to go ahead and hit record so we can get all this on camera. And there was a debate that I was saying, okay, so Jen had her stolen moment. I think I said stolen moment with Zuko, with the lighting of the candles. And I was just saying, like, a more crazy story would be something with Admiral Zhao and John, the training years or something to that nature. And then Momo went on to say it's going to be a great story, and Rico, and I know it's going to be a great story. But you responded in the email to me. You said that you thought it was hilarious. Excuse me. And I was just wondering, like, how was your reaction when you first saw the video? What were your thoughts? You told us that you laughed very hard, and I'm glad you enjoyed that. It was all out of fun, and we love to have a good time like that. But I just kind of wanted to hear your feedback on the video that you saw, which is located on Avatar Origins, Tales from the Fan Base on our YouTube channel. It wasn't a tagline, but yes, Judy.
Yes, when you reached out, I mean I always try to like check out the people who are inviting me to interview to see kind of what kind of topics are you talking about, what the like doing like a vibe check, that's and then so I watched the video of all of you talking about and like speculating about things that could appear in the book, like whether Jin deserves her own story and things like that. So I laughed really hard at that, and I'm just like I think, of course, I think because I wrote it that Jin deserves her own story. But I just thought it's just really fun seeing after it's been announced, seeing like people speculating like what exactly is going to be in this book, like whether she's like an influential person or not, in the story itself. And so I love that, right? Like that's kind of what the wonderful thing is about being part of a fandom and being part of uh, the show that has, yeah, like I said, influenced so many people, is that there's still so much to chat about, many years later.
Mhm.
And so I was joking around before, of course, when we were talking, like, I'm not here to set things straight, that I think Jin is an amazing character, and she definitely deserves to have her side of the story be told. So I'm sure we'll get into a little bit more of that
Yes.
later on
Absolutely,
with the
absolutely.
questions.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think everybody deserves their own story. As I stated, I'm a huge fan. I'm going to read it. I'm going to enjoy it. I've tried to read all the literature that comes out for Avatar Universe. Um, Pop question: you have a copy of the book right now, don't you? Don't you?
I do not. They have not printed it yet. So yeah, so
Wow.
we're still doing some of more of the like the finalizing edits.
Okay.
So I
You
don't
got
know
the
if they're printing
manuscript.
any arcs. Yeah, I have the manuscript is done. So that's
Okay,
not.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Okay. Hey,
Momo,
Judy.
back to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Rico, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. This question is actually from. Let's see here. Well, this is a question from Chocolate Soup, and Chocolate Soup would like to ask: did you have any interest in Jin as a character prior to being asked to write this book. This is very similar to when I was going to ask, which is, in other words, what is it that Jin appeals to you?
This is a good question, because I think those episodes where they're in Bossing Sea are some of my favorite
Yes.
episodes in the show, just because there's just so much going on, right? There's so much mystery, like what is happening with like they're showing all like the earthbender like monorail. They're showing like how big the city is, but then you see all the little things um like a lot of the crime and then like the disparity between the people who live in the upper ring and the people who live in the lower ring, right? And kind of how they're treated, the bureaucracy and all of those things. So that's I was drawn into that from the start. And then of course we get to the tales of Bosing Say episode where we just see like really simple like more of the day-to-day life in there, and that's when Jin really stood out to me, just because I thought she was a really intriguing character too, because you never really see her with anybody else, right, in the episode, even though she was very, very briefly, but she's sitting there like in the tea house by herself. And then so that's what I was like starting to wonder, like, is she actually a spy? You know, like what is she actually like? Is Zuko actually right with it or his suspicions? Like, what is this girl like sitting there in the tea house staring at him the whole time? So that was kind of some of the questions I was like, what's going on? And of course, like she never appears later. I was like, oh, that's too bad. Which kind of she would have come back later and like shown us more about what she was doing. So that was so my when I pitched the story of writing like her background, what happens to her, that was kind of where, because I just thought she was the perfect character to show all these things that I wanted to show and explore in the city as all these major events were happening. So that is kind of why I picked her. And I guess this is a little not a huge spoiler, but a little spoiler where there's also other characters on the show that are familiar that will appear that she will cross paths with. So even though Ba Sing Se is a big city, it's still a
My
small
cabbages.
world. So I'm not gonna. I don't want to spoil it. Some of it is kind of fun, but you will see familiar faces appear on the page. It's kind of as a nod to the original show, but also I thought it was fun to include that and show kind of like what are all these other people doing, right? That we don't see them on the screen either. So then it gives you a tiny little bit of a glimpse of what some of the other fan favorites are up to as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
wait.
Oh, this is gonna be good. Thank you.
I'm
Thank
excited.
This is gonna be good.
um,
All right.
I have a question for you. So, like, you know, when we read about this book and we read about the story of Jin, who I love, you know, again, I'm a shipper, so I'm a big fan of Zuko Jin. Anyway, what this is a question submitted by Iron Barn, but like, what do you hope that Avatar fans take away from this story, or was there any themes that you were excited to tackle, especially being, you know, horror and fantasy novelist? Like anything that you were like, oh, this is what I want for people to read about.
Um, so I think a lot of times fantasy grapples with things that we are dealing with in real life, right? So it's just you put it in another world where you can explore some of those things and speculate. Okay, so in this kind of environment or in this kind of culture, what would happen? And and sometimes it is maybe an idealized version of that, or what you wish could happen in real life. So a lot of times it is kind of exploring some of those themes. So my books are always they always feature a strong like woman at the center kind of coming into her own power, exploring herself, and kind of finding the strength inside of herself. So that's definitely going to be a part of this, and also existing in a world where there might be sexism, there might be classism, because I think that's also a really those things are tackled in the Avatar: The Last Airbender show. Like, it's obvious. A lot of those commentary on war, right, and what happens to children who are part of a war, and in the consequences of growing up in that wartime environment. So that's those are a lot of things that I wanted to explore. So it really is fits in with a lot of what I'm writing about and what I'm the story that I'm interested in to tell. And also I hope that people enjoy, like, just the fun that I throw her into. All, like, there's shenanigans in the show, and I talk about the shenanigans happen to her too when she encounters all these people as she's trying to survive in the city. So I think there's some serious themes in the book, but there's also some lighthearted aspects as well. And the original show really managed to blend that together really well, in my opinion. So that's my hope, is to kind of carry some of that in the book too, where there's seriousness, but it's also balanced with some more lighthearted moments. But but that is what I'm hoping that readers will get out of it, is that like, yeah, just coming of age, finding your own power and your own destiny, even though there's a lot of societal constrictions that may limit what you believe you're capable of.
Oh,
That
nice.
is awesome. Go ahead, Rika. What were you gonna say?
Okay, so my next question, this has been submitted by Dr. Dishonor. Shout out. Um, so you already mentioned that, like, a couple of restrictions that it had, you can't write about anything related to the Chronicles of Avatar. So let's focus on your book. Were you given an assignment about who and what to write about with lots of restrictions, or were you allowed to plot the story more freely?
I was actually given a lot of freedom. Basically, they told me, like, pitch any story that you want that features, like, a character in the universe. Like, that's basically, they're like, pitch us something, we'll see if it works or not. So I sent them like two story ideas, and then and the gin was the one that they picked. So that was the one we went with. So a lot of the ideas in my original pitch actually still stayed as we were expanding upon it in the outline. So they gave me a lot of freedom in what I wanted to write. And of course, in that, when, like I mentioned in the outline and the planning part, they would tell me, like, okay, this doesn't make sense, or these people wouldn't be there, or this actually doesn't work, but what about this? So they had a lot of suggestions on the world part, and also on the timeline part of what would actually happen in the confines of, like, what the story that I wanted to tell. So a lot of times that part was very collaborative in being able to figure out what would make the most sense in Jin's story of what I'm able to portray in the book.
Okay, thank you.
I think we have one last question we want to ask you, and maybe we'll open it up to the audience for an additional one question. Um, I, Tall Earthbender, do you want to ask this final question? Um, uh, now
Well,
that we
first
have
of all, I
you
want to apologize for the technical difficulty.
here. It's okay.
I don't know. I grazed the key
Pending.
and disappeared. I
Tech
grazed the
pending.
key and disappeared. Um, and I'm pretty sure this information is available, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How many pages is the book?
I actually have no idea because, like I said, I haven't had any of the copies printed yet, so I'm not sure. But it's about the length of the previous Avatar book, so, like, around 90,000 words. So you can expect, like, a similar length.
right.
Right.
And then, if you were in the Avatar universe, would you be a bender? And if so, which element? And if you weren't going to be a bender, why not?
Ooh.
Ooh.
So, um, I always really liked earthbending, so obviously Earth Kingdom, earthbending, like that just fits. I don't know. I just think it's so much fun, and of course, Avatar Kyoshi is my favorite Avatar, so that
Mm.
just fits. So that's. I mean, I feel like that's just all very combined together into my favorite things that I got to also, yeah, write a bit about in the story. So we'll see that.
You good, a taller bender?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
you
good. I'm
good?
good. That is my
You good,
favorite
Paul?
as well. That's my favorite element. Bossing Say is my favorite city. I was commenting with someone on here. What was that person's name? I think Ariana Mars. She was talking about Bossing Say. I love Bossing Say. I love the rings there. It reminds me of Chicago. Earthbenders are very strong, and I'm 6 foot 6 inches. Okay, I once cosplayed as Avatar Kyoshi.
Nice dress.
So so she stands out, and she doesn't take any nonsense. And Top Bay Fong doesn't take any nonsense.
Mhm.
The Earth Kingdom reminds me of my home Chicago, my hometown Chicago. So those are my two favorites: the Earth Bending Discipline and Avatar Kyoshi and Tom. Okay, just wanted to get that out.
By the way, Paul, nice dress.
Hey,
Whatever.
I'm
He did Kyoshi well. He did Kyoshi well, I would say. I loved
did. He did.
it.
He really did.
Like we have a few moments, so we might be able to field a question from the chat. Um, so if anybody has a question, now is your time. Otherwise, I will ask one final one. Uh, and then
Got 2 minutes.
yeah, so we
Okay.
have just a
Somebody's
minute or
typing
two.
Evangelion and Nastoon. I guess the questions are
Okay, ask
asked
from
from
the
the list.
list. All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, so
Okay.
I actually have one good one that I wanted to ask too. This one is I thought was interesting. Uh, so you mentioned a lot of things like classism and like inequalities. So Jin's journey across Bossing Say's different rings shows inequalities. So were there any real world examples that inspired you? Um, and this one was submitted by Boomer Ostro.
Um, I think it's just overall is it's been some because a lot of times what I write is based in like Chinese history, so I'm very inspired by that. So my background, so there's been a lot of um, struggles with inequality in throughout the very very long periods of like Chinese imperial history. So that I mean, and you can see like in the Earth Kingdom influences you. There's a lot of that history, even in in the text and in how they laid out the city and in the architecture. So a lot of that has also influenced in my, like from what I see of the show. So it felt very natural for me to put in some of those aspects into the story, just about um, how women are treated in some of those in the culture and once again, yes, classism, about how you can see um, so just where you were born into, whether you're a servant and trying to aspire to get out of that, but a lot of times a lot of the power is controlled by the nobility, and the kind of there are ways where you can pull yourself out of it by writing certain exams and whichever, but it's very difficult for people without that kind of background without that sort of already um, your family's wealth and influence greatly helps with the privilege of being able to rise out of where you're the status that you're born into. So that is a lot of times, yeah, that those kind of historical that context with what the period of history that I'm interested in. So that has a lot of influence, and it just felt very natural to write that into the story because of some of the obvious inspirations in the show as well. So I pulled a lot from that.
Do you think you'll return to write
Outstanding.
another character from the Avatar
Ooh.
series? That's another question from
Um,
Unknown End.
Oh, yes. I There's no plans for that right now because this is meant to be a standalone novel of just one character, one like the story in the universe. But never know what could happen in the future. But yes, the Jin story is so this one book is concluded. Yeah, the story is her story is finished at least at this point of where I wrote it.
Okay.
That is amazing. And I know that we had you for 30 minutes. And so we're kind of at time. We want to be respectful of your time. But this has been an amazing experience just chatting with you, laughing along with you. I'm so glad that you saw the video and you set the story straight. I'm glad
Yup.
we are aligned.
And, but yeah, thank you for having me. That this was a lot of fun. I'm glad I got to talk a little bit about what to expect in this story. But I hope everybody enjoys it when it comes out.
Yes,
Thank
and we
you
want
Oh,
to
again.
sure we will.
So
thank the Avatar
July
Discord.
22nd, everybody. July
Yes.
Yes.
22nd. All
Um,
right.
will you be at Comic Con?
Go out and get the book.
Not sure yet. I'm hoping to be, but we'll kind of see what
You
happens.
probably
Yeah.
Amazon probably allow you to, and several other book companies are probably allowing you to, in regards to the public, to pre-order books. So everyone in the Avatar universe, go ahead and I don't know how early it's going to come. It may be available now to pre-order. Go ahead and get
Yes.
started if you enjoyed Avatar novels. This
Mm,
definitely is going to be. I'm going to definitely um, get me a copy, and I'm going to give my feedback to you
yeah.
and take back everything that I said on that video.
Yeah.
But we're all excited, and a
Yep.
100 million times thanks again for allowing us to dive a little bit into your life of the Avatar universe, and we're very grateful.
And
Thanks
thank you
Thank
again,
to
you.
Judy.
the Avatar Discord
Nice.
also for allowing us to host
Thank you.
this chat with you on their platform. Thank you to the audience and the folks who've joined. And
Yes.
just like,
Thank you again.
yeah, like just this is like, we do this for you guys. We don't do this for the fame or anything. We're just as excited as you guys sitting in the audience to be here. And so, if you ever want to be a part of it, let us know. Um,
Oh,
anyway, that being said, this concludes the interview with the amazing, the wonderful Judy. So thank you so much. And yeah, so that's it. Avatar
Yeah,
Origins.
Avatar
We
Origins out.
out. Thank you so much. All right, I'm gonna
thank
stop the
you.
recording in 3, 2, 1.